Alright, so as we get started, I know I said we were going to be doing, Pikmin, but I think Pikmin takes too long. The problem is, as I was thinking about it, January kinda sort of is a dead month when it comes to gaming news, and usually for TV and... Oh, come on. What the... Okay, there we go. So January is usually a dead month. For some reason, nothing ever happens in January. Usually it's because, usually also the end of December. That's why we always do Game of the Year, and that's why I never have to worry about anything. But I was like, okay, we're going to do Pikmin. We just don't have enough stuff to talk about for Pikmin. I've got, 3 stories? And they're all literally me just finding stuff to talk about. I have some anime. I threw some anime on the list for the first time in a while. But that's just because we don't have anything else to talk about. It's usually January is a dead month. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, we could do Pikmin. But I feel like we can put a lot of time into Pikmin. Instead, I want to do something shorter. Something that, we can go through pretty quickly, pretty easily. And I've been wanting to replay Bowser's Fury in 3D World for a while now. So I think we're going to do that. We should be able to get through Bowser's Fury in 3D World relatively quickly. Because Bowser's Fury is a great game, but it's also very short. There's only 100 cat shines to collect. We'll probably be able to knock it out in at most 4 hours. I bet we can beat the game today. I bet if we work hard enough, I think you only need 50 cat shines to beat the game. I bet we can do 50 today, 50 next week, and beat the game. Of course, I do know a few tricks here and there that'll help things out. But yeah. So that's what we're doing. I know I said we were going to do Pikmin. We'll do Pikmin maybe next month, when February comes around and, the news cycle kicks up again. Who knows? I could be completely wrong, and we could get some big cover story next week that completely blows everything open, and we actually have a lot to talk about. I don't expect that. Usually, when we come back in February, we'll have a PlayStation showcase sometime in February. We'll have a Nintendo Direct, usually in mid-February. Sometimes it's as late as March, but usually it's around February. The only exception might be an Xbox showcase. In past, I think there has been an Xbox showcase in January. So, that is possible. Now, luckily, we do have some TV. Admittedly, I did not watch Fallout this week. I was busy. I didn't have time to watch Fallout. So, we'll have to talk about that next week. But we do have Percy Jackson still, so we got that. I don't know. It should be simple. It should be straightforward. I will also say, so last week we went for 5 hours. And, by the end of it, I was kind of losing my voice. I could kind of feel it, wearing on me. As it turns out, I was actually sick. And I just had no idea. I woke up the next morning feeling like absolute shit. And here we are a week later, and my nose is still absolutely clogged up. My throat's all scratchy. I don't know what happened. I don't know who, nobody, when I was at Christmas, nobody was sick. I don't know who gave it to me. But, I got it. I've given it to all my roommates. It's mostly just, a nose thing. Honestly, my body hasn't ached. I didn't have a throat thing for, 4 days. It was mostly just my nose was absolutely clogged. And it's been miserable. And it really sucks. That time between... I know the time between Christmas and New Year's is this very, nebulous time period. But, yeah, it still sucked being sick. And so I also just got nothing done, I slept a lot. I did watch some anime, which is why we do have an anime to talk about. We actually have 2. But yeah, just be aware that I am sick. It's just... ugh. It feels bad. So, yeah. But yeah, we're just going to play some If you've never played Bowser's Fury, this was additional content, I guess, let's say, for when 3D World re-released on the Nintendo Switch. I want to say this was given an update recently, that with the Nintendo Switch 2 updates, which we will be talking about tonight, Bowser 3D World plus Bowser's Fury did get an update, just to, you know, make it run at a more stable frame rate, probably give it, you know, game share, compatibility, probably something along those lines. But no, this is a good game. Bowser's Fury is very short. Like I said, you can 100% it in about 4 hours. But it's a really good 4 hours. I'll stand by. I think I would love to see this game expanded a lot more. That on its basis, you know, it's very simple. You're just visiting the different islands, doing their challenges, seeing as the challenges change with each revisit. It's kind of open world. It's a little bit open world. Not in like your traditional like Mario open world where you're given a sandbox to explore. I know some people are sick of Nintendo doing open worlds. Can I be honest? I find that very ironic. Like, I remember a period in which people were complaining that games were too linear. That, oh, every game is linear. More games need to give you freedom of choice. You know, freedom of exploration. And now here we are, probably like 10 years later. And now it's the exact opposite. That too many games are giving you freedom of choice. And people instead want more linear, straightforward experiences. Admittedly, part of why I've been saying that is probably the whole Metroid thing, is that they added some open world elements to Metroid, when by its nature, Metroids are actually Metroids can be very linear experiences. Like, there are open elements, but it's just taking the new powers you unlock and bringing them back to areas you've already been to. Backtracking, which people also hate for some reason. Sometimes I get it. Backtracking can be annoying. I've played other M, but sometimes backtracking isn't bad. I think backtracking sometimes gets a bad rap. Sure. But no, I do really like this game. I actually played it around this time last year, when I was looking at right when I was booting the game up earlier. I was like, when was the last time I played this? I played it like New Year's, maybe not New Year's. It might have been closer to like Christmas last year. So I've played this more recently, but I do think this is a good game. I kind of wish they sold it on its own. I feel like if Nintendo was just like, oh yeah, eShop exclusive for like $20, you can just buy Bowser's Fury. I feel like there's a lot of people who played 3D World that, you know, didn't want to buy the game again, but would happily buy Bowser's Fury. I think that'd be an easy $20. Of course, knowing Nintendo, they charge like 30 for it or 40 for it. But no, this game is good. I love the aesthetics. Everything's cat-themed. We have Godslayer Bowser. It's a fun game. It's a fun game that I do... Again, at some point this year, I'm going to pitch Galaxy 3. Based on Bowser's Fury, I've had an idea for Galaxy 3 that I'm going to pitch, I don't know, sometime closer to the Mario movie. Actually... I should do it sometime this month before the Nintendo Direct next month. Because, well, I don't think they're going to announce Galaxy 3 in February. You never know. Announce Galaxy 3 in February, October release date. It's possible. Ugh. Oh, that's good. I got a red cream soda. Oh, that's so good. Wow, that was quick. If you've never played this game before, there are certain Bowser blocks that only Bowser can destroy when he's out running around, and he just did not want to attack us. So yeah, so for stories, we got 3 new stories, and then I got 4 things in WIBE. We'll see how much we talk about each of them. But, you know, I got a few things. We'll cover some miscellaneous stuff. I didn't talk about Christmas, so maybe we'll talk about Christmas. I don't know, I didn't put it in the notes, but I realized last week, like, oh wait, we didn't talk about this. I probably should. Even though, you know, nothing really happened. Alright, so gaming news, we got 3 stories. They're all 2 of them are just directly Nintendo stories. One of them is Nintendo adjacent. There are some non-Nintendo elements to it, but it's more or less Nintendo adjacent. So we'll talk about all that. And then, yeah, and technically, like, one of these stories we've definitely talked about before. One of these we've talked about before. The other one is barely a story, but I wanted to mention it just in case. Oh my god. Sometimes, okay, this is gonna be gross, just be aware. But sometimes while I'm talking, you know, I've got all this mucus, and like while I'm talking, it like clogs up the point where, you know, the nose meets the back of the throat, and I just can't breathe out of my nose. And my body's like panic. Oh, and it starts like coughing to try to like dislodge it. Oh my gosh, that just happened. And oh, it's awful. Man, why do I have to get sick right now? Do me in like February when I got a lot less to worry about. No, of course it has to happen over New Year's. Ugh. So yeah, we got 2 Nintendo stories. One is about Nintendo Switch 2 editions, and I do want, even though we've talked about it in the past, I do want to talk about the new president of Nintendo of America. And our final story is just about anniversaries, because 2026 is anniversary to a lot of different game franchises. Again, mostly Nintendo, but I do want to talk about it anyways. There's some other non-Nintendo stuff that, who knows? I don't want to say these are like predictions, that's probably a bad way to put it, but I want to talk about it anyways. So I guess let's start off. So on New Year's, right around that time, right before New Year's actually, earlier in the week, it came out that in Europe, Pikmin 3 has been rated for a deluxe edition for the Nintendo Switch 2. Alright, so Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which is a game that came out in what, 2020? I think it came out during COVID, 2020, maybe 2021. It has now been rated for a Nintendo Switch 2. So we are probably getting a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Pikmin 3. Now, of course, my first thought is, why not Pikmin 4? Why? Because, like, we did get a Pikmin 4 update recently, but they didn't add any Switch 2 compatibility in that update. It was just like, hey, look at these decor Pikmin. We're adding difficulty settings. Like, the Switch 2 edition we all wanted, it wasn't that. And that was really weird. Like, why isn't this Pikmin 4? But no, it's instead Pikmin 3. Now, I want to be clear. This does not mean we're getting, like, a full-on new edition of the game. It could mean that, but it's not guaranteed. Like what we're getting with Animal Crossing in 2 weeks. The Animal Crossing for Switch 2 is a full-on new edition of the game. It's specifically, you know, a Switch 2 version that is, I think, a $5 paid upgrade. This Pikmin thing could be that. It could be a paid upgrade, but it could also be a free upgrade. Because there were a bunch of Nintendo Switch games that got free upgrades in the lead up to Switch 2. The one I specifically think of is Mario Odyssey. Panic Button? I think the developers, it might be Big Red Button, but I think it's Panic Button. There was a story a few weeks ago how Panic Button, I think it was Panic Button, worked on the upgrade for Mario Odyssey for the Switch 2. And that was just a free update. Anyone who has the Switch 2 can just go download that update right now. This could be that. Because when that Mario Odyssey update came out that gave it Switch 2 compatibility, it got re-rated. They had to re-rate the game to get that version out. So it is likely that, yes, this Pikmin thing is not a full-on re-release, but just an update that, you know, gives it 60 FPS, probably 10... I want to say the base game is 720p. It's a very beautiful 720p. But it's going to give it 1080 support, or maybe it's 720 in handheld. It'd now be 1080 in handheld, which, yeah, it needs that support. That'd be nice to have, because Pikmin 3 is a beautiful game. It is the best looking game on the Wii U. And yeah, having 60 FPS would be very nice. But yeah, if I had to guess, I would say this is probably not a paid upgrade. This is not like what they're doing for Animal Crossing, or what they did for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I'm going to guess this is a free update for the game. Kind of, again, like what they did for Mario Odyssey. Did I save that Panic Button tweet? I might have. Give me a second, let me look. Yes, I have it right here. Panic Button was honored to be selected by Nintendo to help update marquee games from the Nintendo Switch library. Nintendo asked us to help demonstrate new compatibilities of the Nintendo Switch 2 system, while remaining faithful to the original games. So what ports did they work on? They worked on New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. They worked on Super Mario Odyssey, like I mentioned. They worked on ARMS. And then finally, they worked on the game we are currently playing, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. So I would not at all be surprised if either Panic Button or some other, you know, one of the EDPs is doing some upgrades for Pikmin 3 and 4. I would hope that, you know, I think it's EDP 8 that does Pikmin. I would hope they're either they're working on Pikmin 5, but, you know, we get a Pikmin 4 update. Maybe they'll add mouse controls for both Pikmin 3 and 4. But yes, Pikmin 3 has been rated. We don't know anything other than that. Literally, all we know is that Pikmin 3 has been rated. I will say, this was a story early on that I don't think we ever talked about. Pikmin 3 did have issues on the Nintendo Switch 2. When the Switch 2 launched and people tried to play Pikmin 3 on it, the game actually had like some graphical issues that people were struggling with for a while. And then quickly they put out a patch to fix it. But I would not be surprised if, yeah, they're just putting out another patch to, you know, well, those issues have been fixed. Just make sure the game runs really well. Again, 60 FPS, maybe mouse controls. But I don't expect any new content. I don't expect any DLC. I do think this is just straight up a free upgrade for a game people already have. So I would not go looking any farther into that. However, that was not the only Nintendo Switch 2 edition to come out of Europe this week. Because the other one that got rated was Splatoon 3. So, much like, you know, these other games, Mario Odyssey and Pikmin, Splatoon 3 did kind of get a Switch 2 upgrade. Back in, I want to say June. I have it in my notes here, June. They updated Splatoon 3, and in the 10.0 update, they, and I quote, added performance and graphical improvements for Switch 2. Now, these weren't anything to really do with, like, online matchmaking. Most of these improvements revolved around, you know, going into the Grand Festival area. I want to say it helped out with, like, the loading of Salmon Run. So it wasn't anything for, like, the competitive aspect of the game that would, like, give Splatoon 3 players, like, an upper hand. But it just kind of helped them out a little bit. You know, it just made the game run better overall. And so it looks like we might be getting a Switch 2 edition of Splatoon 3. Is this going to be another free upgrade? Is this going to be a paid thing? We don't know. I honestly could see both happening. I could see them putting out the last update was, right, 10.0.0. I could see the next update being 11.0.0 that you know, maybe it adds mouse controls for Switch 2. And then the 10.0 update added 30 new weapon kits. You know, the third kits that people so desperately wanted. Maybe we get another 30 weapon kits. There are only you know, over half the weapons I want to say got third kits in the 10.0 update. If they want every weapon to get a third kit, an 11.0 update would do that. So I think that is realistically possible. That this is also not, you know, a full-on Nintendo Switch 2 edition. That it is a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, but it also includes those third kits for everybody not on, both on Switch 2 and not on Switch 2. And then for the Switch 2 version of the game, you know, besides for, you know, stability and whatnot, the only actual change I see them making is mouse controls. You know, at some point, I know Metroid Prime just came out, and that has mouse control support on it, but Nintendo, you know, their shooter franchise is Splatoon. If you want to show off how well your mouse controls work on shooters, that's the game you do it with, not Metroid. I've heard they work fine in Metroid. Like, I haven't heard anything really that negative about it. But I think it makes sense. Again, same thing with Pikmin. Add mouse controls. Just because people really like the pointer controls on the Wii. I personally was not the biggest fan of pointer controls on the Wii. Like, I get it. Didn't really do it for me. I think, you know, the hybrid we have nowadays with, you know, joystick controls, but you can make minor adjustments using the motion controls. I like that. That's what I like. God, I can see them adding auto-aim to Pikmin 3. You know, do the thing that... I know they just removed auto-aim from Pikmin 4. Kind of. You know, you can optionally turn it off. But I could see them doing the opposite and giving optional auto-aim in Pikmin 3. But no, I think Splatoon, that makes sense. Getting that, third kits, and then finally, maybe a new stage. The last stage added Urchin Underpass? That sounds right on my head. They added a new stage in the 10.0 update. I think they could add one more stage. It's either going to be the Reef or Salt Spray Rig. They could fully rework Salt Spray Rig. If I was a betting man, I would say the Reef. Because, you know, Urchin Underpass was the big stage of Splatoon 1. One of them anyways. And so bringing back the Reef, which was the big stage of Splatoon 2, I think that makes sense. I think that's a logical choice. I'd be down for the Reef to come back. I like the Reef well enough. Salt Spray Rig is a stage I never cared for, but if they rework it, as long as they don't bring back Maki Towers, whatever the Towers map is. God, I hate that map so much. I think some people like it. I am not one of them. I do not care. Wahoo Towers? I don't know, it's a stage in Smash. For some reason, that's the Smash Bros. Stage. I do not like that map at all. Hey, Anti-Anonymous. I did hear about FaZe. I was never a FaZe guy. I've maybe seen some of their stuff. I wasn't a FaZe guy. So, it doesn't really affect me. But no, I get it. Can I be honest? This is not the first time I thought FaZe was going to fall apart. They've had some controversy in the past that I was like, oh yeah, this might be the end. And they stuck through. Probably. No, I wasn't. I was not Sidemen either. I was watching... Well, okay, who were the Sidemen? No, I grew up watching... Not even grew up. I was in probably high school by that point. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen you since last year, Anti-Anonymous. Happy New Year's. Sidemen. Here we... Oh, yeah, no, I didn't watch Sidemen. I watched, okay, it's two different genres, but I watched Vanoss. Vanoss and his crew. I cannot for the life of me remember what they were called. I cannot, what were they called? But you know, I used to watch Vanoss and, H2O Delirious and Mini Lad. That one fucking... I was watching an old video not yesterday, sometime earlier this week. And it had Mini Lad in it, and I was like, oh yeah. Oh fuck. But yeah, no, Vanoss was funny. He had some real, you know, all the classic jokes. Oh, I hate them because they're blue. No other reason. Whalers on the Moon. So much good nostalgia. That was 10 years ago now. Probably. That was probably 10 years ago. But yeah, no, I'm hopeful for a Switch 2 version of Splatoon 3. I have not played Splatoon 3 in a while. I thought there was a Splatfest this week. It's actually next week. But I have not played Splatoon in so long. Yes, I know I'm Unk. Haven't you... You can't say that anymore. Don't you know about the Great Meme Reset? I found out about that yesterday. No, maybe it was on New Year's. Or New Year's Eve. What a joke. The idea of the Great Meme Reset. Oh my gosh, people are stupid. Yes, time comes for us all. Oh, see, I only found out about it yesterday. Or, again, on the 31st. One of those 2 days, and that's dumb. We're gonna bring back the annoying orange next. Yeah, no, that it was never gonna work. The Great Meme Reset was never gonna work. Oh god. Yeah. So what else? So the other thing I was thinking about, if we're getting a Splatoon 3 Switch 2 edition, what about Splatoon Raiders? Splatoon Raiders was announced in June, right before the Switch 2 came out. Or maybe it was right after the Switch 2 came out. And we haven't heard anything about it since then. It's almost been 6 months. Deep Nut. Listen, it's all cringe. It's all cringe, but it's different kinds of cringe. We only think positively of stuff like MLG and 9 plus 10 equals 21. We only think positively about that stuff because it's what we had when we were younger. The same kids who are doing the skibbity toilets and saying the 6-7, in a few years, they will also realize what they are currently doing is cringe. And they will look at whatever the next generation's doing and be like, oh, those kids are stupid as well. Like, again, time comes for us all. You will inevitably become an old man who yells at clouds. It happened to me, it'll happen to you, and it'll happen to the generation that comes after us until, the world ends and we're living in the post-apocalyptic nuclear fallout and all the children are eaten by the soul slurper. It always happens. I used to be it, but now what's it is strange and weird. It happened to me, it'll happen to you. So no, I do think 6-7 is very annoying. But it's just not, it's different generations. What brain rot did our parents have? Garfield on the back. Have you ever read one? Not Garfield, but there's another comic from that age, like Heathcliff. It's pretty dumb. It's pretty dumb and not like nonsensical. Well, it is nonsensical, but like in a different way. No, the older generation, so like my parents, Gen X, they had like things like MTV and Beavis and Butthead and stuff like that. That was, way back in the... MTV died yesterday, by the way. MTV used to be the big thing, and yeah, it defined an entire generation of music, and it doesn't exist anymore. It was killed yesterday. But yeah, no, it used to be stuff like Beavis and Butthead. I would count early South Park, definitely falls into that. Everyone had their stuff. There's some weird MTV stuff back in the day. Look up Dog Police. Dog Police was the Gen X 1981. Pineapple Apple Pen? What's a modern day music bullshit thing? I guess Dog Police was their like... I'm going to say Annoying Orange because I can't think of a modern callback. Yeah, MTV used to be weird as well. It just kind of comes with the territory. Thick of it? Yeah, maybe. Dog police. Dog. Gosh dang it, why do I have that stuck in my head now? Dog police. Da-da-da-da. Woof, woof, woof. Dog police. The internet, or again. Oh, I'm sick right now. I can't breathe out of my nose. Maybe I'm too close to the mic as well. Yeah, no, I have no nose breathing. I'll move the mic back a little bit. Oh my gosh. Fuck, why? Look what you did to me. Get back to the planks. Yeah. Look what you did to me. You made me think of dog police. Now I'm cursed. I'm cursed. Dog police. That song fucking sucks, by the way. I'm having a good time with it right now. It's not a good song. MTV was weird. I do like Mexican radio, though. I have a soft spot for that one. Another one of those weird early MTV songs. Again, this was over a decade before I was born. You know what? Who Lets the Dogs Out is also a very nonsensical song. The Baja Men are very weird as well. Like, they're like Cotton Eye Joe. They're not even like a real group. At least they aren't anymore. Alright, I gotta get back. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Splatoon. I want Splatoon Raiders, man. I know the rumor is that it's gonna be like a grounded style survival game. I want a Splatoon grounded style survival game. That sounds like a lot of fun. And sure, I could just go play grounded. Like, that is a completely valid thing to do. It's probably on sale on the Switch right now. But, yeah. Oh my gosh. But no, I like the idea of a Switch 2... Switch 2 version of Splatoon. I hope, Pikmin's gonna get one. So the one thing, before we move on to our next topic, with, Pikmin 3 Deluxe in Splatoon 3 getting Switch 2 editions, my one guess, these are not gonna be revealed this month. There is most likely a Nintendo Direct next month in February. Usually early February, sometime before the 15th. Usually there's a Nintendo Direct in early February. Admittedly, I don't think there was one last year, but we were kind of, Switch 2ing at that point. Because there's never a Nintendo Direct in April. Like, that was the first April Direct in a long time. But I could see, now that we've got the Switch 2 out, we had a June Direct, we had a September Direct. I fully expect us to go back into holding pattern, and I do expect a February Direct. When was the last February Direct? Nintendo Direct February. Not 25, but what about 24? There was a Direct on the 21st. What about 23? There's a Direct on the 8th in 23. A Direct on the 9th in 22. And a Direct on the 17th in 21. So yeah, I think it's going to be sometime within the first, 3 weeks. Usually it's pretty early on. Usually, that's the first or second week of February. And so I do expect both the Pikmin Deluxe and Splatoon Deluxe to be revealed at whatever the upcoming Nintendo Direct is. I think they're going to be digital only. Like, I don't expect, like, full re-releases. I do think they're going to be digital only. And if they are digital only, I could see them both being shadow dropped. I don't know. You know, literally anything is possible. I've been doing this stuff for 15 years. I fully expect to go for another... I at least got to make it longer than Rooster Teeth did. You know, I at least got to make it longer than Rooster Teeth. Which I think they made it 21. We'll see after that. I mean, wouldn't that be... Here's the dream. Is that you do it, you break big, and then you pass it down to your kids. Or, you know, you help them start their own thing, and we get streaming Nepo babies. I'm not against streaming Nepo babies. I know a lot of streamers' kids don't want to do stuff in the industry. You know, they want nothing to do with it some of the time, and to be fair, that's the same problem Hollywood has. Sometimes. It's the same joke people make when they're doing, like, Call of Duty LAN parties. Like, the retirement home's gonna be lit. We're gonna be doing Halo LAN parties, you know, doing Mario Kart in the retirement home. It's the same kind of joke. Because Roy streams once a week. G&G. Yeah, fair. To be fair, I only do this podcast. That's it. Farm your kids. See, that's the thing, though. Is you only let the kids become streaming Nepo babies if they want to. Like, once they're, like, old enough to want to do it. You don't you don't exploit the kids for content. But instead, when they're old enough, they, you know, they start doing it because they want to do it. Not because they're forced to do it. That, you know, speaking of Minecraft, something I did realize when I did the achievement hunt earlier this year, I don't know how much... Like, I expect them to support the Nintendo Switch 2, or the Nintendo Switch Edition, for a few more years. I don't expect that to go away. But at a certain point, I'm going to have to move... All my Minecraft achievements are on the Switch. I don't think they're going to transfer over to the Switch 2. The Switch 2 edition is a brand new edition of the game. I might have to get all my achievements again on Switch 2. That's gonna suck. I had that realization last month when we did the last achievement hunt. I don't want to get that Emerald one again. I don't want to get that Beacon one again. Those achievements sucked. Killing the Bedrock Wither isn't worth it. If you remember watching, he said when he gets a girl, he's gonna use her for content. And he said he would use the kids for content. He's semi... Since he made them, then he gets to use them. See, I disagree on that. Yeah, like, you know, you want your kids to be interested in the content. Like, if you're having fun doing it, you want to share that love with them. But you don't want them to just become you. There's probably it might be a Tumblr post, it might be a 4chan post. But there's this post, I'm gonna guess it might be a Reddit post as well. I don't know, there's this post about this girl, and her parents are big into Harry Potter. You know, they were big into Harry Potter chat rooms in the early 2000s, and they had kids together, and the parents love Harry Potter, and they want the kids to love Harry Potter as well. But because the kids grew up with Harry Potter, they, like, hate it? Not because the parents like it, but because the parents only like it. Like, Harry Potter is their only interest. And whenever the kids try to, like, be like, oh, well, I'm interested in something else, they're like, no, you can only love Harry Potter. And that post haunts me. I would never want to be that parent who's like, oh yeah, you know, because I like Nintendo games, my kid will only ever play Nintendo games. Or, you know, because I'm not a football guy, if my kid grows up to love football, you know, I'd like poo-poo on their interest. There's that one South Park episode where they do High School Musical, and the dad is like, oh no, son, you're gonna go into musical theater like your old man. You're not gonna do basketball. And then by the end of the episode, the dad realizes like, oh wait, basketball also has a lot of the same like drama and stakes as musical theater. And he learns to like love and support his son. Sure, the dad's still an abusive piece of shit, but he learns a lesson at the end of the day. That's a great episode. The whole High School Musical episode of South Park, classic. Man, look at us. The New Year's got us being all introspective. Yeah, no, that Reddit post about, like, the Harry Potter adults and the kids who hate Harry Potter just haunts me. Like, that's my worst nightmare. Also said he wants to have, like, 20 kids. One is a basketball athlete, another is a swimmer, another is a soccer. Another... blah, blah, blah. Then his daughter, whom he hopes finds a good guy. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a whole thing. Yeah, no, those, you know, those family vlogging channels suck. You know what else sucks? Those van life channels. I don't know if you've ever read up on those van life channels. Those, I feel so bad for that kids. Those kids who, like, their parents are, like, vanning them around the country, and they, like, don't have any, like, permanent place of residence. They don't really have friends. Oh my gosh, that sucks. No, you're fine. You're fine. There's you know, there's a reason why a bunch of old people are trying to pass filial laws, because they've messed up their kids so bad that they know they're getting a one-way ticket to the retirement home. What was I going to talk about? Alright, back on track. Van life is dumb, yes. Okay, so the next story we gotta talk about is, so with the new year, did you know Nintendo has a new president? That good old Doug Bowser retired December 31st. That was his last day. Doug Bowser is no longer president of Nintendo of America. And we instead have a new president, Devin Pritchett. Yeah. It was one of those things that I kind of forgot about until I saw Doug Bowser's, like, final day in the office posts. Here's the thing with Doug Bowser. I know a lot of people shit on Doug Bowser. I thought Doug Bowser was the... What's a good example? I almost said the Joe Biden of presidents. That's not... Actually, you know what? That's actually a perfect example. Doug Bowser was the Joe Biden of Nintendo of America presidents. He was a completely inconsequential Nintendo of America president whose legacy will be entirely defined by their last 6 months. Because that was it. You know, Doug Bowser, he didn't do anything special, but I also don't think he did anything terrible until the last few months, in which the Nintendo Switch 2 came out, and, you know, everything just shit hit the fan. from literally since like April 4th, being a Nintendo fan has just been a miserable experience. And so, yeah, I don't hate Doug Bowser. I know some people dislike him on principle because, you know, he's not Reggie. I think he's fine. I thought Doug Bowser was fine. Very just inconsequential. Not like a transitional president. Like, not like the guy who came after Iwata, whose name I can't remember. Not Furukawa was our current president. But no, Doug Bowser was fine. And then our new president, Devin Pritchard. Either she's going to be sweet or she's going to be a dickwad and get Nintendo of Japan to raise the profit margins. Okay, so here's the thing with Devin Pritchard. She's already been working, because I looked this up, she's been working at Nintendo for 20 years. So this isn't like, she's not like some of these other companies where they're bringing in like an outside CEO who will like completely redo the company and will potentially fuck everything up. No, she's been working at Nintendo for 20 years. There was a company recently that just did that, where they brought in an outside CEO, and it was like, oh, they worked for like, not Tesla, but it was some shit like that, and it's like, oh, this is gonna completely fuck up the company. I can't remember who it was though. But she's worked at Nintendo for 20 years. She was formerly an executive of marketing, and then she was VP. She was the vice president of Nintendo of America. You know who else had that exact same path? Reggie. Reggie was an executive of marketing, became VP, and then became president. Like, she's got literally all the same qualifications he did. Admittedly, I think Reggie worked at, Pizza Hut before Nintendo? But still, I don't think it's that, like, some people are going to make it as, like, this big deal. I've already seen a lot of sexism that, oh, because she's a woman, she's not qualified. That's complete bullshit. Come on, guys, it's current year. Of course, you know, gamers TM are sexist and racist and homophobic, so none of that surprised me, but, you know, it still happened. See, that's the other thing, though. Does Nintendo of America matter? You know, you talk about them, you know, raising the prices. I don't think Nintendo of America has a say in that. Because the question is, does Nintendo of America even matter? Because, okay, so on top of her being the new president and the COO, she's also the COO, there's also a new CEO of Nintendo of America. Satoru Shibata, he's worked at Nintendo for 40 years. He spent 20 years as the CEO of Nintendo of Europe. And he also worked at the Pokemon Company. So he also has a lot of experience. And yeah, I saw something that said like he's the first CEO of Nintendo of America since Iwata. That Nintendo of America hasn't had a CEO in a while. They've only had a president. I did not verify that, but that would not surprise me. Now, I want to be clear, Nintendo of America and Nintendo of Japan are two different entities. This is just Nintendo of America. They're in charge of, you know, localization, marketing. They're in charge. They do have a studio. What did Nintendo? I think it's called Nintendo Studios. What are they called? EDP. I know, what is it? They are... So yeah, because at the end of the day, Nintendo doesn't matter. EPD, I meant EPD. Nintendo of America just does what Nintendo of Japan tells them. Sure, they have a little influence, but at the end of the day, Nintendo of Japan makes all the marketing decisions. I can't remember what EPD stands for. EPD. I don't remember. Where is it? Nintendo has an internal studio called Nintendo NST, Nintendo Software Technologies. Nintendo Software Technologies did Mario vs. Donkey Kong. They did F-Zero 99. They did Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. And they did Snipper Clips. So yeah, Nintendo does have an American studio. They just don't do that much. Sister companies, yes, but yeah, really, at the end of the day, you know, Furukawa's in charge. He's the one who makes... That's why, if you ever wonder why Nintendo is so bad at, like, responding to things whenever there's, like, criticism or controversy, it takes Nintendo forever to get out a statement because it has to go through Nintendo of Japan. And Nintendo of Japan, you know, weighs all the options. Nintendo of America cannot act as their own entity. But yeah, Nintendo of America does do some stuff. And Nintendo of America does matter a little bit. We found out recently from a developer interview on Metroid Prime 4 that part of the reason we got Metroid Prime 4 is because Nintendo of America asked for it. Because Metroid's never been popular in Japan, but it's popular in America. And so Nintendo of America asked if they'd make a new Metroid, and eventually, yeah, we did get that. It also helps that Retro Studios is a Texas-based studio. They're American as well. EPD most commonly refers to Environmental Product Declaration, standard document providing qualified environmental impact data for products' life cycle, crucial in green buildings. Yeah, I think we're talking about different things here. Okay. Yeah. EPD, when referring to Nintendo, is their entertaining planning and development. So EDP, you know, 1 through 6 or whatnot, is, you know, planning and development. So, you know, EPD 3... I just had this list up. EPD 3 does the Zelda games. EPD 4 does, like, Nintendo Alarmo, Drag X Drive. EPD 5 is Splatoon and Animal Crossing. EPD 6 is a support studio that worked on Prime and Luigi's Mansion. EPD 7 is doing Splatoon and Tomodachi's Life. EPD 8 does this game we're currently playing and Donkey Kong Bonanza. EPD 9 does Mario Kart and ARMS, and EPD 10 does the 2D Mario games as well as Pikmin. Yeah. So yeah, those are Nintendo's 10 internal development studios. Entertainment, planning, and design. I probably knew that somewheres in my brain. But yeah, no, they're from right down here in Texas, Retro Studios. There was because also, you know, from interviews, I guess when the Japanese people would come out here to, you know, see how Metroid Prime was going, the Retro Studios would take them out for barbecue. Because, you know, there's no barbecue like Texas barbecue. Rightfully so. Finally got a Switch 2 for Christmas. Love Mario Kart World. Doing parkour like a beast. I'm so bad at that game. So in a recent update, they added the ability for you to see all the P-switches on the map. I'm thinking about maybe I'm going to go in and get all the P-switches. I was thinking about that over the weekend. That, like, you know what? Maybe I should boot up Mario Kart and finally 100% that game. Now that it's a lot easier... I don't even know if the state tax thing is all it's cracked up to be. I know a lot of people really laud it, but at the end of the day, the payment still comes due, just in different ways. I don't think that's as big of a deal as some people make it out to be. I mean, I'm still I'm still paying plenty in taxes. So yeah, I don't think Nintendo's screwed. I don't think, Devin Pritchett's gonna do a terrible job. There's, they're coming into a hard situation. People are big mad at Nintendo. Half of it is just a marketing thing. If Nintendo's marketing was just a little better, I think a lot of this backlash for the Switch 2 would not be nearly as bad as it currently is. You're so broke. Probably not gonna pay as much. I wish. No, the real thing that helps is that I don't own property. Of course, it'd be nice. I have no idea. I have no idea which barbecue place. They just said they'd take them out for barbecue. Yeah. No, I should not be paying. The billionaires should be paying more taxes, but no. No, listen, taxes are certain. I rent, yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think Nintendo's screwed. There's just some blatant sexism out there. I think Nintendo's gonna be fine. And it also, it's just what's in store this year. I mean, we got a Mario movie coming out in a few months. We got some Nintendo Directs. I feel like, all it takes is just a few more good games, a few other studios to have some controversies, and a lot of these Nintendo issues will just go by the wayside. That Nintendo was the villain of 2025. But, as generative AI increases in gaming, that'll become the next target. And I'm not going to say people will lay off Nintendo, but, they'll start focusing on other issues. Because I definitely think we have far worse issues in the gaming industry than Nintendo. But that's just me. Alright, and then my last story is, since we are now in 2026, a lot of game series are celebrating anniversaries this year. I don't know what it is, but yeah, 2026 is a big anniversary year. For a lot of old franchises, I mean, I think the newest one on this list is 25 years, but we have a fair few anniversaries this year. So I just kind of want to go off this list, basically my idea is, will we see anything from any of these franchises for their anniversary? That's basically how I'm pinning this. So our first anniversary this year, Zelda. The Legend of Zelda is 40 years old this year. And I do think we are going to see something from Zelda this year. We know we're getting a Zelda movie next year, but Nintendo has gone on the record and said that they want to release a new Zelda game every year. So far, they only broke that in like 2022. And outside of that, we have had a Zelda game every year since 2017. So I don't think this year is going to be any different. I think we're going to get something Zelda related. I don't know if it's going to be a new... I don't think if we're getting Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom 3. I don't think we're getting anything that... Yes, I did. I actually have 2 animes to talk about later. Sure, they're both shitty isekais. But yes, I do have some new animes I'll be talking about later. Yeah. They're 12 episode slop. It's not something to be super proud of. But yeah, so Zelda has its anniversary. I don't think we're gonna get a new 3D Zelda game. Sure, I still want my Final Fantasy remake style Ocarina of Time. I think that getting Ocarina of Time, but remade how they made Final Fantasy VII, would be very cool. I very much do want that. I don't think we're getting that this year. I don't think we're getting, Breath of the Wild 3. There was a hint, I guess, in some interview recently, Aonuma, or one of the people who worked on Breath of the Wild, basically said that we're not done with the Breath of the Wild universe yet. And that kind of pissed some people off. Or at least maybe it was more that, like, they're always open to coming back to it. I think some people are blowing that statement way out of proportion. See, here's the thing. I like the Breath of the Wild characters. If we saw the Breath of the Wild Link, Zelda, Sidon, Riju, Tolan, and Yunobo. If we, like, saw those, 6 characters, but maybe they go to, like, a new land, or, there's something new, I wouldn't mind that at all. I think the reason people are big mad at Tears of the Kingdom, in some ways, is just because it's the same map. I feel like if it was a new map, a lot less people would complain that it's the same characters. And I know also, Hyrule Warriors didn't help with that either, but still. But no, I do think we're going to see something new. Oh, I have no idea. You've got me there. Same thing with Yunobo, and Tulin is... I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised if she's 18. At least by Tears of the Kingdom. I think her and Yunobo could both be... Because Yunobo... We at least know... Okay, here's the thing. Yunobo is related to Daruk. But I can't remember if Yunobo is Daruk's son or grandson. So Yunobo could be anywheres from, like 18 to like 100 years old. Either way, it's totally possible. I cannot remember off the top of my head. Tolan's young. Like, Tolan, it reads like 15. Because we see him as like a kid in Breath of the Wild. And I can't remember how long of a time gap between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And then Sidon's also over 100 years old. But, he's old enough to get married. Which, I mean, one of the animes I'd watched, the kid got married at like 9 years old, so I guess that's not a good point to judge on. We'll talk about it later. He didn't get married, he got engaged. Isekais are stupid. But yeah, so Zelda's having its anniversary. I expect something. There's always been a Zelda thing. They've literally only missed 1 year. And I think, if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think they would have missed that year. Which are between COVID and, they intentionally delayed Tears of the Kingdom to, like, avoid, like, a cyberpunk situation. I expect something. It would be cool to, like, I could see... Here's the thing. Nintendo is pretty good at announcing a game and then releasing it within the next 12 months. Sometimes it's even less time than that. Mario Wonder, I think, was, like 6 months? DK Bonanza was like... Oh, God, was DK Bonanza like 4 or 5? So Nintendo is very good at announcing a game and then releasing it shortly afterwards. But they always usually have one big product in the background that people are waiting for. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid Prime. Currently, Nintendo doesn't have any long-standing game in development. So I could see them announcing a new Zelda game that's not coming out until like 2028, if not later. The next big development thing. I think that just makes sense. That's something I could see Nintendo doing. But no, we're going to get something from Zelda. I would love a remake of Oracle of Ages and Seasons. I want to desperately replay those games. Or, well, play some of them for the first time. But I do not want to play the Game Boy versions. I don't know if you've ever played one of those Game Boy Zeldas. Because you only have 2 buttons, it sucks. Hey, Just Carla, how you doing? We're talking Gaming Anniversaries right now. But yeah, with Zelda's 40th anniversary, I don't think Nintendo's going to make like a big deal out of it like they are with Mario. Like they're going all out for Mario's 40th. I think they'll mention Zelda's anniversary and nothing else. Oh, I'm currently sick right now. My nose is completely clogged up. But no, I think we're going to get something from Zelda. The next game to have its 40th anniversary, Metroid. Metroid turned 40 years old this year. And honestly, I don't think we're going to see anything. We just got Metroid Prime 4. I feel like Prime 4 is our Metroid 40th anniversary moment. We're not going to get anything else from Metroid Prime 4. Outside of Metroid Prime 4. Okay, there is a possibility that we get a follow-up to Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread did pretty well by Metroid standards. It won multiple awards. It's pretty beloved as Metroid games go. You know, it's one of the best reviewed Metroid games. Not as high as like Super Metroid or Prime, but it's like third. It's Metroid Dread was what, 2021, 2022? I could see us getting a follow-up to Dread. You know, the next game, Dread sequel, Super Dread, or whatever they call it. I could also just see them straight up remaking Super Metroid. We got a Metroid 2 remake a few years ago. I know some people will say that Super Metroid's like too good to remake. Nah, I think Mercury Steam. I'm willing, after Dread, I'm willing to give Mercury Labs. I'm willing to give them a shot at remaking Super Metroid. I think they do an okay job. Dread really impressed me. What can I say? So that we might get that, but if we get nothing from Zelda, from Metroid, I will in no way be surprised. Because Nintendo has never celebrated a Metroid anniversary. Never. They don't even really acknowledge that it had an anniversary. I do want to say, was Dread an anniversary game? I think Dread came out the 5th anniversary, but like Nintendo didn't even acknowledge it. Next up, Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus is also celebrating its 40th anniversary, and Nintendo doesn't even remember that series exists. The only person who does is Sakurai, and he's busy probably starting development on the new Smash Bros. I do not expect Kid Icarus to even be acknowledged that it exists this year. I would love if they would announce a remake or just a port. I don't even need a remake. Just port over Kid Icarus Uprising to Switch 2 with a proper control scheme. Please. It's one of the greatest games ever made. But because it is stuck on 3DS, it will never get the love it truly deserves. But if you bring it over to Switch 2, oh my gosh, it would be amazing. But that's never going to happen. But no, Kid Icarus, they're not even going to acknowledge Kid Icarus as his anniversary. Next up, Dragon Quest? Yeah, the classic Dragon Quest series is also turning 40 this year. And they did announce Dragon Quest 12. Like 3 years ago now? It's been a while. I could see us getting some more info on Dragon Quest 12. I don't expect it to come out this year, but I could see us getting an update. I could also see them doing like a concert. You know, they love to do those Final Fantasy concerts. I could see us getting a Dragon Quest concert. Dragon Quest, I think, has some pretty good music. But no, this is Squeenix. Squeenix is more willing to celebrate their anniversaries. I could see us getting some Dragon Quest stuff. When was Dragon Quest... Oh, I Googled 13. Dragon Quest 12 was announced in 2021. We do have a new Dragon Quest. We have a remake coming out this year. Which... Oh, shoot. I don't remember. I like Dragon Quest 11. I never beat it, but what I played of Dragon Quest 11 was really good. So yeah, you know, we might. I think it's 7. 7 is getting a remake this year. It's either. It's got to be 7. I don't think it's not. It's not 9, and I don't think it's 8. Could be 8. It's not. It's definitely not 9. The final game that has its 40th anniversary this year, Castlevania. I cannot even remember when the last Castlevania game came out. I feel like it's been, like... If you told me it's been 10 years, I would in no way be surprised. Dawn of Sorrow. Castlevania games. Oh, there's been some collections. The last mainline Castlevania was 2014. Holy crap. Made by Mercury Steam, really? Huh. Yeah, holy shit! The people who made Metroid Dread made the last Castlevania game. Lord of the Shadows 2. It's been over 10 years since the last Castlevania. I don't expect anything. I expect nothing from Castlevania. Doesn't help that they're owned by... Usually Konami would, like, cash in. I don't even think Konami gives a shit. So no, expect nothing from Castlevania. Okay, so those are the 5 games with 40th year anniversaries. Next up is Sonic the Hedgehog with our 35th anniversary. I think, you know, Sonic Frontiers came out 2 or 3 years ago. I think it is time for a new 3D Sonic game. I know we got Generations. I know we got kart racing last year. But I think another 3D Sonic game would be pretty cool. I know there was a 2D game at some point as well. There's a part of me that just wants them to remake Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Last time I played Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, I was not exactly a big fan. But I'm willing to give them another shot. I could also see Sonic Heroes, but I think that's a little less likely. But anything's possible. But no, I do think we're getting something from Sonic, and it is Sega. Sega loves its anniversaries. I could see some sort of celebration for Sonic's 35th. And you know, we're also getting a Sonic movie next year, so we'll definitely find out some more about that later. Like who's going to be voicing Amy. My money is still Kimiko Glenn, or whoever I said the other one was. Just give it to Kimiko Glenn. I think they do a great job. And then next, with 30th anniversaries, Persona. Do I think we're getting Persona 6 this year? No? Could I see it being announced? Sure. Because you gotta remember, Persona 5 was a PS3 game. That's how old Persona 5 is. I could totally see Persona 6 getting announced. Do I think it's coming out this year? Not a chance in hell. But I could see it being announced. It's been a while. I don't think there's been any, like, rumors of Persona 6 or anything like that. Not that I can think of. But, of course, we could always get a new stupid mobile game that nobody likes. Like the one that came out last year that nobody liked. Next up, Pokemon. Pokemon's 30th anniversary is this year. And guess what? 2 days into the new year, Pokemon has already started celebrating its anniversary. They put out an announcement video yesterday of, hey, tune in February 27th, Pokemon Day, for a special Pokemon presentation. And along with that, they revealed some new art of Fat Pikachu. They brought back everyone's beloved Fat Pikachu. You know, Chonkachu. And so yeah, Pokemon has already started celebrating its anniversary. And we're only a day into the new year. So of course I expect to see more Pokemon. Like, no. Like, that's the safest bet in the world. Us getting new Pokemon. Next up, Animal Crossing is celebrating its 25th anniversary. And I think the update that comes out in like 2 weeks is the 25th anniversary. Like, Nintendo might do another update at some point. Like, now that we're on the Switch 2 edition, who knows? Nintendo may actually start supporting Animal Crossing again. I know a lot of people want a new Animal Crossing. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But maybe after Animal Crossing blew up, Nintendo realized, like, hey, we should capitalize on this. You know, just a little too late. But now, because they have the Switch 2, they can actually go in and capitalize on it. Kind of like Mario Kart 8, where Mario Kart 8 came out, and then we didn't get any updates for like 4 years. And then randomly in like 2021, they gave us like 2 years of support. I could see the same thing happening here, where, you know, we haven't had any Animal Crossing update since, what, November of 2021? And I could see Nintendo being like, okay, now in 2026, we're going to give you another year of support. They haven't said they're going to be doing that. I doubt it. But you never know. You never know. We're going to talk a little bit more about Animal Crossing at the end of the show. But just know it's on my mind. Another 25th anniversary, Luigi's Mansion, was a GameCube launch game. So yeah, that makes sense. I could see Luigi's Mansion 4. You know, Next Level Games, the studio that made Luigi's Mansion. Mario Strikers came out like 2 or 3 years ago. We know they're not doing Punch-Out. I could see Luigi's Mansion 4. Put it on a ghost train. I love it. I love the idea of a ghost train. And then finally, the last 25th anniversary, Pikmin. Besides for maybe Pikmin 3 and 4 getting updates, I don't expect anything else. I could see Nintendo actually acknowledging Pikmin's anniversary, if not just because Pikmin is kind of marketable and, you know, Miyamoto cares. But outside of that, I don't really expect much. But hey, we're hopefully going to get we know we're like 99% sure we're getting a Pikmin 3 update. And I could see a Pikmin 4 update. So yeah, I think it's possible. So those are all the games with updates that I wrote down. I'm sure there's other stuff coming, but that's all I got. So yeah, all stuff to look forward to this year. Again, at most we're going to get like half of those. But hey, it'd be cool. I just wouldn't expect anything from Castlevania. I don't remember him doing a soccer ball attack. Has it really been this long since I played this game? I don't remember a soccer ball attack at all. You know, maybe for Castlevania, they finally put Symphony of the Night on Switch. Because that game is still PlayStation exclusive. For some weird fucking reason. We've almost got enough stars or shines. We're Yeah, we're 6 away. Holy shit. Told you we could beat this in like 2 hours. Alright, with that, let's get into WIBE. We got to talk about Percy Jackson. We got to talk about episodes 4 and 5, because we didn't talk about it last week. I got 2 animes, 2 shitty isekais. We'll get to them. And then, yeah, maybe we'll get some miscellaneous stuff, and then we'll end off. So let's talk Percy Jackson. So episode 4 was Clarice blows everything up, something along those lines. And this is, the gang meets back up with Clarice. They're on her ship, with all of our fallen soldiers. Now, in the book, it's been a long time since I've read this book. It's been at least a decade. So I definitely don't remember everything, and I do have some questions about that. But one of the things I do know for sure is that before they meet Clarice, they actually meet up with Chiron in the Party Ponies. So the show just skips over that. I think they're going to bring it back later. But yeah, they skipped over that, and then they skipped over the Hydra. They do make a tongue-in-cheek reference to it, where Annabeth is eating like Hydra cereal or something like that. But outside of that, they skip over the Hydra thing, which, can I be honest, the Hydra thing doesn't really matter. I'm not upset they skipped over the Hydra, because the Hydra doesn't really do anything. It's, most of the book, The Sea of Monsters, is filled with references to the Odyssey. Scylla and Charybdis, Circe's Island. It's a lot of Odyssey references. The 2 non-Odyssey references are the Stymphalian birds and the Hydra. They kept in the Stymphalian birds, but if they don't keep in the Hydra, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't really think they're missing out on anything by getting rid of the Hydra. So I'm not worried about that. We get a flashback with Annabeth, and finally we get to see Thalia. So in the books, well, Thalia is white. But more importantly, I can't remember if she's goth. I don't think she's goth or emo. I want to say the best term to describe Thalia would be punk. She dyes her hair black, she wears all black. I could see that being goth, but I think they describe it as punk. I think that's what Thalia is going for in the books. And I've seen some people upset with this show that they don't think it's going far enough, that Thalia doesn't look enough punk. And having seen it, I think it's fine. I think, yes, she's not as extreme, but the elements are still there. She's still all dressed in black. She's clearly going against the ideas of Zeus. I think what they're doing with Thalia is fine. I like the detail they add in this, where so it's Thalia and Annabeth and Luke. And Grover shows up in these flashbacks and is like, oh, let me take you to Camp Half-Blood. And Luke has no interest in it. Thalia has no interest in it. And they only decide to go because of Annabeth. Because they want, Annabeth almost gets killed by some Cyclopses. So they decide like, oh, well, we got to keep Annabeth safe. So let's go to Camp Half-Blood. Sure. They only do it for Annabeth. And I don't think that was a detail in the book. I admit, the whole, those two, like, yes, all 3 of them go, but they only do it for Annabeth, I don't think was a thing in the book, but it makes sense. Luke said earlier in the season that, if Thalia was still alive, she'd be on Luke's side. And yeah, I think that's the vibe they're kind of trying to set up. And I don't mind that, because obviously it's going to come to a head later on. But no, I like the Thalia flashbacks. I think they're interesting. I'm glad that they're showing us more of her character. Because, yes, in the books we hear Annabeth describe some of this stuff. But, actually getting to see it and getting Thalia's perspective is good. Again, with what's to come. After that, Clarice shows up. Instead of blowing up the Hydra like she does in the book, she blows up their boat. And then she fights Percy for the coordinates to the Sea of Monsters. I like that how Percy calls her out. And is like, oh, I'll beat you the same way I did your dad. That was good. And then Annabeth's just realizing like, oh, well, you're not taking us with you because you have 3 people who can do the same jobs we can. So I'll just kill them instead. That's a good moment. I like that. So with that, right, he ends up going along with them as part of the, because there are multiple Thalia flashbacks, and we see, right, the first one, Annabeth gets a bracelet, and she throws it into the ocean, but it gets pulled out by, Rainbow? The hippocampus, who I honestly completely forgot from the books. Like, now that I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I guess I do remember this. But I kind of completely forgot they were a thing. And then Tyson has the bracelet, which makes Annabeth upset. Because again, she was kidnapped by Cyclopses, which we do get to see that flashback. And then, of course, the episode ends with their whole they have to choose between Scylla and Charybdis. They choose Scylla, and then halfway through, Clarice switches to Charybdis, starts firing on it, and in the process, the boat gets destroyed. That's more, like, okay, I don't remember Clarice's motivations in the book. But I want to say that's more or less how it plays out in the book. They start off going to Scylla, they like decide to switch and go to Charybdis. And then along the way, Charybdis either eats the boat, or maybe the thermos of winds explodes. More or less, this plays out how I remember it from the book. I do like that they're giving Clarice more motivation, that, you know, she's promised her soldiers Elysium if they work hard for her. And, you know, she does just genuinely care about them. And, like, they're all willing to sacrifice themselves for her. And, you know, once they start dying, she actually, like, feels bad for them. They're making Clarice into more of a character. And I do like that. Because she is, you know, more or less a one-dimensional bully in some of those early books. So no, I do like all the Clarice stuff. I like that she tells Percy her prophecy. I don't think that happened. No, that has to happen at some point in the book, because how else would Percy know it? But yeah, I do like that. And that whole scene was like, this doesn't mean we're friends. So that's episode 4. Episode 5 is Circe. So they're at Cece's Spawn Resort. Immediately, they wake up in Cece's, and Cece's, it sounds like I'm talking about the restaurant. They wake up at Circe's, and I was surprised. I was like, wait, why are there men and women here? Because, spoiler alert for the book, if it even matters. In the book, they show up to Circe's, and she takes in Annabeth, but she turns Percy into a guinea pig because she hates men. Which, more or less... See, I haven't read the Odyssey in a long time. I could not tell you if in the Odyssey she also hates men. If she turns Odysseus' crew into pigs because they are men, or if she just turns them into pigs because they are soldiers who are, you know, dangerous. Kind of like, you know, they imply in this that she turned Blackbeard into a guinea pig because he is, you know, dangerous. Which I think makes sense. I think that is a very logical thing to do. But no, that change of, like, men and women, because in the Odyssey, after, you know, Odysseus beats Circe, she stays on her island for like a year, where she helps him out and his crew. And I'm not going to use Epic the Musical as a source. Admittedly, I don't remember how that plays out in that either. I have not seen all of Epic the Musical. I've only listened to some of the songs. Maybe I should do that this year. Listen to all of it. Regardless, the change with, you know, men and women, I was like, ooh, okay, that's different. For a moment, I was wondering, like, are they even going to do the guinea pig thing? Because instead, Circe's whole thing is her resort helps heroes find their fatal flaws. And then on the outside of her resort are the sirens. And if heroes are able to find their fatal flaw, then they're able to get past the sirens. Because in the books, the sirens play out completely differently. We'll talk about it at the end. But yeah, the sirens in this, instead of being like, in the Odyssey, they're birds. They're like, not griffins, harpies. They're like harpies. In this, they're like made out of coral. It's actually a really neat design, but it looks nothing like what I think of a siren. It doesn't even look like a mermaid, really, which is the other depiction of a siren. But yeah, so we see Percy, he looks in the mirror, and he finds his fatal flaw is that he will always put his friends first. He will sacrifice himself, anything else, including even the world, if it's to keep his friends safe. And yeah, Percy, this is his flaw in the books as well, that he will put others, before himself, including the end of the world. Which he might even he learns at some point in the book. He might even learn that at this point in the book. Because he worries that, hey, he'll put Grover's life over the Fleece, over Camp. And that with this whole great prophecy, he'll potentially put his friends over the fate of the world. A genuine concern, I get that. That makes sense. Again, I'm glad they're introducing the great prophecy as early as they are. Because they save it in the books until, like, book 4. No, getting it here, and Percy, like, realizing his fatal flaw, and realizing that, oh, this is how the world might end. That's, like, compelling shit. I like that. After that, Percy goes around to sulk for a little bit. And it's during his sulking that he realizes, oh, wait, Cersei's a liar? That people only ever escape when they're about to lose hope. That it's only when everybody else is about to lose hope does someone find... Because only like 6 people have ever escaped. And so Percy confronts Cersei. And, okay, I know at some point there was this idea to like reclaim Medusa. That Medusa is not like this evil, wicked monster, but she is instead a victim of the gods. And I want to say season 1 of this show did that. This season 2 is doing the same thing with Cersei. That Cersei is not just some, wicked, villainous witch who, turns men into pigs, but she's instead this very lonely person who was used by the hero Odysseus before being discarded. And fair enough. It also... Okay, at some point they're going to do Calypso. Calypso's basically the same thing, though. Calypso is someone who, helped Odysseus, helped Perseus, one of those other Greek heroes, and then was discarded. And now she lives all alone. So they're kind of taking elements of Calypso and doing them to Cersei. But I like the conversation between Percy and Cersei about her loneliness. That, she realizes that once, that you've given the hero what they want, they leave. So by making the heroes feel like they can never leave, she'll never be alone again. Genuinely very interesting. It is this element of, like, reclaiming Cersei and making her more than, just an evil witch. I want to say the monomyth is like the Temptress or something like that. It's doing more than that. That's good. I genuinely find that very compelling. After that, Percy does become a guinea pig. You had to turn him into a guinea pig. I thought for a moment they weren't going to do it. You gotta turn him into a guinea pig. That's fun. They also do Blackbeard. Blackbeard is one of the guinea pigs. That's also good. Even though in the books, when they release Blackbeard, he, like, destroys the resort and everybody's, like, forced to flee. That's not what happens here. Instead, Percy steals the wax that'll allow them to get past the sirens, and then they just leave. Like, we don't need... Like, as far as we can tell, Blackbeard didn't destroy the resort. Which is definitely an interesting choice. I still think it shows that the resort will doom to fall. Because, now that Percy can leave... since Percy showed that he could leave, that's going to give everybody hope that, oh wait, Cersei's a liar, we can just leave whenever we want, even if it's not true. So I still think the resort falls apart. You know, they do nothing in this episode to set up Rhaena, but they didn't need to. They don't need to set up Rhaena or the Amazons. That's a whole different book series that'll never get made. I expected nothing. Kind of like the Lotus Casino stuff. You know, I don't expect anything. You've got time. But no, instead, they get the wax from Cersei, and as they're sailing the boat, Percy offers to tie himself up to the raft, because they only have enough wax for one person. Now, in the books, again, the sirens happen different. They have nothing to do with Cersei. And instead, for the sirens, Percy is the one who wears the wax, while Annabeth ties herself to the raft. So I was like, okay, they're doing an inversion. That's... You know, the show has done that before. That's not a big deal. And then right as they start to put in the wax, Cersei uses the Force to magic her back to herself. That was fun. That's a fun idea. So instead, Percy's tied to the raft, and Annabeth hears the siren song. She gets drawn to them. She at first sees a vision of Grover, Percy, and Luke, and is asked to, like, talk it out. Like, hey, they're going to settle their differences. And right as she gets close, she stabs the sirens. And it's like, oh, cool. You know, she's turned it on them. She's been able to push through. And then right before the last one gets her, her mom shows up and stops the siren and, like, kills the last one. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Wait, this is too good to be true. This isn't real, is it? Sure enough, it's not real. Holy shit. That was great. That was a great moment. I was not expecting that. I really liked that. The whole double fake out was really good. And this episode had two of them. Has two double fake outs. Both of them are fantastic. This is technically the second one, but I'm saving the first one for a little bit. So after that, Percy ends up saving Annabeth. He runs up, grabs her, and they both get dragged off by the boat. And then when Percy asks, like, oh, what did the sirens show you? He basically says nothing, that he just saw, you know, Annabeth, and so he just saved her. In a way, this is meant to mirror, if you remember in season 1, when they go to get Ares' shield, there's this whole moment of, like, Percy sacrificing himself to, you know, save Annabeth so that way she can complete the quest. This is basically doing that, but from the other point of view. That this is Annabeth sacrificing herself so that Percy can make it through. But yeah, no, I really like all the siren stuff. Again, it's different than the book, but I think it works really well. Because I want to say, you know, Annabeth listens to the sirens because she wants to know her fatal flaw. And her fatal flaw is pride. And she's, you know, smart enough to know that. And yeah, she basically gets the same reveal, that she knows her fatal flaw is pride. And then so with that, the episode ends with them arriving at the island of the Cyclops, which feels very early. But there's a B-plot in this episode. I cannot for the life of me remember what happens to Clarice in the books. After the ship blows up, I know she's not with Percy and Annabeth. I know Tyson's off with the Rainbow. I cannot for the life of me remember what happens with Clarice. In the show, she ends up on the island of the Cyclops with Grover. Her and Grover work together on a plan to escape. But in the end, they ultimately fail. Grover, it's like, oh, Polyphemus figured out Grover wasn't a Cyclops. And I was like, okay, that's a good twist. Until afterwards, Clarice, you know, she was hiding. She goes to save Grover. And, like, Grover's locked in a cupboard. And she's talking to him through the cupboard. And eventually, Grover says something along the lines of, like, oh, I'm sure your father will forgive you, or something like that. He loves you. And Clarice is, like, so pissed, she, like, rips the cupboard drawer off. And Grover's gagged. Clarice wasn't talking to Grover. She was talking to Polyphemus, because, you know, Cyclops can mimic voices. I love this reveal, because part of the show is they've reworked Tyson. Tyson he's an idiot in the books. And they definitely do play that he is, I'm going to use autistic for lack of a better word. Maybe Down syndrome. There's something with him. In the show, they've kind of lessened that a little bit. But I like what they do the same for Polyphemus. You know, Tyson isn't as stupid, so Polyphemus isn't as stupid. And that he's known the entire time that Grover wasn't a Cyclops and has just been using him to lure more food to his island. That this has been a trap from the start. I really like that. That is a fantastic reveal. I was really impressed with that reveal. That was not a plot twist I saw coming. No, I think that Polyphemus change is so good. And now we're going to get to see how it plays out. Oh boy, am I excited. That is so interesting. That is so interesting. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed this episode. I feel like the changes they made were very good changes. I'm very interested to see how it goes. We only have 3 episodes left, but we know the next episode is them fighting Polyphemus. My guess is next episode's Polyphemus, then they're going to head back to shore, then they'll do the party pony stuff. And then I want to say there's an attack going on at camp when they come back. So they're going to go back with the party ponies to stop the attack. That's my guess for the last 3 episodes. I know at some point they send Clarice back to, on a plane or something. So I'm sure that'll happen later on. But no, so far, I think it's been good. I Sea of Monsters is the weakest book. So I think it's important they make some changes. And the changes they have made are very good changes. I am definitely invested. So, I did have some anime to talk about, but we just beat the game. So, I think I'm going to save it until next week. I don't have, at the moment, I have nothing for next week. Maybe that'll change. But I've got 2 anime, Skeleton Knight in Another World, Sweet Reincarnation. They're 2 isekais. Neither of them are that good. Skeleton in Another World is more interesting. I like the main character more, whereas Sweet Reincarnation is a lot more generic. The main character just isn't as interesting. Like, he's been reincarnated into a world so that way he can work on his dream of making more sweets, sugar. But he's constantly interrupted by, war and politics. And it's just not as good. Maybe we'll talk more about him next week. But no, that takes us to the end. Bowser's Fury is fantastic, by the way. But for our outro, okay, I had this idea for Animal Crossing. What if for Animal Crossing, the new update comes out in 2 weeks. It comes out on the 15th. And I had talked the other day about hey, what if I start doing some stuff with Animal Crossing? What if my idea was basically 30 days of Animal Crossing. What if we sit down and for 30 days, we play some Animal Crossing and do more of a challenge? An Animal Crossing challenge of just what can we do in 31 days. So that was the idea. So towards that end, I made a bingo board. So let me cut over here real quick. We don't got to worry about the Bowser's Fury credits. We'll watch them when we beat the game again. So I had this idea. So it's a let me zoom it in a little bit. It's a bingo board. I hope you can see that. But it's got different challenges for Animal Crossing. So, 3.0, and it's tasks like complete 50 Nook Miles tasks, plant an apple tree, plant an orange tree, catch 1 flea from a villager, cook 30 items, plant a coconut tree, plant some produce, buy a piece of art, change the town too, go on captain boat tours, spin 50,000 bells, sell some fruit, dig up some clams, plant a pear tree, participate in a fishing tourney. That one might not be possible. Edit your passport, help Wisp, expand your home, place 20 fences, catch 20 unique bugs, collect 15 types of gyroids, get a fake art assessed by Blathers, harvest 50 produce, break rock after eating a fruit, and catch 100 bugs. So it's just a bunch of simple tasks that within the span of 30 days, I think you could accomplish all of this. I tried not to do anything like ridiculous. Admittedly, a lot of these tasks are just straight up taken from the game. Animal Crossing New Horizons has achievements in it, so I just took the achievements and put them all, like, I think the original thing is to plant, like, a produce, and then it's like plant 20 is like your second achievement. For a lot of them, I just took the second one. Not for all of them, like catch 1 flea is I think a level 1 achievement, but that one's going to be a little harder. Same thing with like expand your home once. I think there's also one that's like expand your home 5 times. And then, so if we come in here, because this is literally an Excel document I made, we just click it, and now it randomizes a new board. And, you know, some things are the same, but some of them are different. See, I just did it again. Terraform water, plant a coconut tree, help Gulliver, collect 50 sea creatures. Yeah, okay, I think that's possible still. Catch 100 bugs. Because we only have 30 days, there are certain things that aren't possible, like, you know, getting level 2 on shop, getting some of the later levels in the museum. I think. I don't know, I'd have to look into it. Celebrate 1 villager's birthday. That completely, I don't know if that's possible in 30 days, but I put it on there anyways. So Auntie and I've had the idea, I'm going to do another 30 days of Animal Crossing. But for my next 30 days of Animal Crossing, I think we're going to do Animal Crossing Bingo. So I will have 30 days to complete a number of achievements that I admittedly don't know if they're at all possible, but it'd be interesting to see. Yes, I kind of did, but I'll talk more about them next week. Because we beat Bowser's Fury. That's the problem. Is I beat the game. But no, I'll talk more about them next week if you remind me. I'll put them on the dock. I'll put them on the docket anyways. The 2 isekais were called Skeleton Knight in Another World and Sweet Reincarnation. Neither of them were that good, if I'm being honest. Skeleton is better than Sweet Reincarnation, I'll tell you that. But yeah, I think this would be fun, you know, just Animal Crossing Bingo. Help Wisp, fall into a pitfall. So I've created a list of, if we look over here at the bank, I have 75 tasks. So it takes this list of 75, randomizes them, and then ranks them from 1 to, 75, and then picks the top 25 and just puts them on this bingo board. And of course, like, I'd have to, take a screenshot or whatever to get a picture of it. But I think this is what we might do, is I might just take this bingo board, we play once a day, 1 hour a day, for 30 days and see if we can, can we get a bingo? Can we get blackout? Because again, some of this stuff is impossible. This one, straight up impossible. Some of this stuff though, pretty easy. This one's pretty easy. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. Like this one, we'd have to, in order to beat the game, you got to do that at some point. So that is my plan. So not next week, but the week after that. Yeah, the week after that, starting on January 15th, I think we're going to turn back on Animal Crossing. For the first time in, at least 2 years, 600 plus days, I'm going to boot up Animal Crossing. You should create a new server so I can share my epic gaming clips. Yeah, I don't know. I did not manage the last Discord server well. I don't think I should manage another one, if I'm just being honest. WW Animal Crossing. But yeah, I think we're going to be... I'm still... See, here's the thing. I've got these tasks. And, you know, some of them are all very simple. But I want more. Because these are all, like, in-game achievements. I want some some personal stuff. I don't want like celebrate Christmas, find specific villager. But there are definitely some stuff that I haven't thought of. There's nothing from the Happy Home Paradise on here. I don't think I'm going to do the Happy Home Paradise again. I already did that. I think I'm going to do the new hotel thing, which is, you know, making hotel rooms. But I don't think I'm going to do the Happy Home Paradise. Manage a lot of servers. Just don't become a Reddit mod. I read a lot of horror stories about Reddit mods last year. Never become a Reddit mod. Oh my gosh. That whole art drama, that was crazy. But yeah, those are my... So yeah, I'm going to do an Animal Crossing bingo. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. At least that's my plan. I'm trying to make my own fun. As I said in the original Animal Crossing series, you know, either the first or second time we did it, you got to make your own fun. Exactly. You never want to be a Reddit mod. Only villains become Reddit mods. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so that is my plan. Oh god, that one's also bad. Does 4chan even have mods? Let's be honest here. So in 2 weeks, that is the goal. Next week we beat Bowser's Fury, and then we go into Animal Crossing again. And I will also be honest, every stream's going to be at night. It's going to become another nighttime series. But, like, what you going to do? You know, again, things are a lot different nowadays. There's no pandemic. I may be sick, but there is no pandemic going on right now. I do not have the freedom and time that was previously afforded to me. But I'm going to try to make my fun where I can. Yeah, that is the plan. Animal Crossing bingo. If I just like... Okay, so here's the thing. Every time you do anything on this document, it messes with it. But I think I can just like save like a screenshot of it, or maybe just copy it and that should be no issue. Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm sick with. I just know I've got something. Yeah, that is the plan for the stream coming up in the future. Anything else I gotta say? Wow, I cannot believe we went for 2 hours tonight. I thought, you know, it being the new year, that really surprises me. That really does. Normally, New Year's shows are like an hour and a half at most. Oh, I didn't talk about Christmas. Fuck. For Christmas, a sign I'm getting old, the sign that I'm an unk, I got a Costco membership. I've become a Costco guy. Boom. Boom. No, I've never... Costco has always been one of those things where it's like, yeah, I know they're good. I should get around to it. And finally, I got myself a Costco membership. That was my Christmas. Boom. Oh, come on. Why don't I have a boom? Nah, trust me, not everybody does. Why don't I have a boom animation? Said I just have a bing bong. I just have a bing bong that I've never used. Fuck, I have the bing bong I've never used. Gosh. I should go to bed. It's late. You go to Costco. Oh, I don't know about that. I could not tell you. But, yeah. So that's what's coming. Oh. So that's what's coming up on the future of the stream. Next week, we will finish Bowser's Fury. At most, it's going to take us like an hour and a half. We have like 30 cat shines. I think we have a little more than 30 cat shines. It's true every time I pull up there. Yeah, well, I wouldn't know. But yeah, next week we'll finish Bowser's Fury. And then the week after that, we'll be in Animal Crossing territory. We'll be back at it. New island. Switch 2. Everything will be entirely different. I don't know. Maybe it'll all go to shit. But, yeah. But with that, I'm going to end off here. Oh, one last thing, as you may have noticed. With the stream name. So, previously, I was just numbering things. I've had a membership for like a week. I haven't even been yet. I just have the membership. I haven't even been yet. I was going to go on like New Year's Eve to get some stuff for New Year's Eve, but again, sick. So with the stream, behind the scenes, this is season 7. I have been doing this show. Now, technically not, but I haven't been, there's a College Humor skit about being friends with someone only for their Costco membership. That's not entirely what I've been through, but yeah, it's basically that. No, it's just been a long time. But yeah, so while the stream numbers, I restarted when I changed the podcast name. When we were in chat, we were at season 5, and when I changed the name to WIBE, I reset the numbers to, episode 1. However, behind the scenes, in my, behind the scenes document, I kept calling it, episode 1 of WIBE was season 6, episode 1. So now, because, new year, new season, I'm just taking those back numbers and putting them in the front. So, yes, technically this is the second year we've been the WIBE podcast. Behind the scenes, I consider this season 7, episode 1. So I'm just moving that behind the scenes number to the front. So that's just, my general, hey, as a podcast, this is season 7, episode 1, because the last season was season 6, even though I never called it season 6. And I might retroactively go back and fix that, but just, yeah, season 7, episode 1. You know what I have to, we were talking earlier about streaming until we're 80. I've at least got to make it through season 12, so that way you can find your birthday episode. Every season's got over 30 episodes. So that way you got to be able to find your birthday episode. I got to at least make it that far. But yeah, yeah. Oh, so we already did yours. This is mine. Pretty shitty episode, honestly. Oh, God, I'm tired. That's the only reason I thought of it. But yeah. So I think that's where we're going to end off. We will be back next week. And the week after that, Animal Crossing time, baby. I hope it's fun again. I hope, having taken a few years off, it's fun again. Because during the end of that second season, it was such a drag. Oh my gosh. June is the 6th month of the year. Your episode would have been season 6, episode whatever. It's like, have you ever like people did like a Funko Pop where it's like, what's your birthday Funko Pop? And you just look up the number on your birthday and it tells you like, that's your birthday Funko Pop. You know, it's the same idea. It was a trend on TikTok. It wasn't like, I'm not talking about like, it was a TikTok trend. I would say kind of the same, but I do have a Mysterio Funko Pop that I do really love. But I have also gotten them as Christmas gifts. Okay, I'm ending off. I'm going to bed. Hopefully I'll be better in the morning. They're not going to be, but they're cute. Some of them. Some of them are ugly as sin, but some of them are cute. But yeah, with that, I'm going to end off. I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time. Peace.